been quite a week. I saw this picture this morning on Morning Brew, and maybe you can relate to this. It's feeling like overwhelmed, like, oh, just end it now. But, you know, that's the world. That's not how we have to be. Last month when we were in Hawaii, we were on the island of Maui, and there was this labyrinth that we found. It was near indigenous sacred burial ground, and it felt very sacred, very holy. Here's a picture of it. There's ocean all around it. It was just fantastic. And whenever I walk a labyrinth, it's a very profound experience. It's a very emotional experience for me. And it's walking a labyrinth is walking to your center, going to your center and then returning to the world. And when I walk a labyrinth, I like to use the 3 R's. I like to, as I step in, release something. Release something that's no longer serving me. Release something that needs to let go. And then as I'm walking to the center, receive whatever guidance it might be, whatever spirit wants to share with me, whatever my higher self needs to know. And then you walk back out and you return. You return to the world with this greater wisdom, with this new knowledge that you've gained from going within. It's a beautiful experience, walking a labyrinth. And we don't need a labyrinth to do that. Any of us that are on a spiritual path know that we can go within any time, that we can take that journey to our core and then come back out and return to the world. Kinder, gentler, freer, more loving. Jesus modeled this for us beautifully throughout his ministry, throughout his life. And I love that the message of Palm Sunday and what it means to me and how it invites us in our own lives. So yesterday was Passover, by the way. Yesterday was Passover. And Passover is the celebration of the Jews' release from Egypt as Moses led them out of slavery. The plagues that had afflicted the Egyptians, and the final one being the death of the firstborn, and how the Jews put blood of the lamb on their door so the angel of death would pass over them. And after that is when they left Egypt. Moses led them out. And so Palm Sunday, in the times of Jesus, was the week of Passover. And there were lots of Jews that had traveled to Jerusalem, to the temple, to celebrate Passover. And so this is where the story starts. Well, let me back up a few days. Jesus had been traveling on the outskirts of the city, not going into Jerusalem. He had been preaching and healing. And one of his final healings before going to Jerusalem was raising Lazarus from the dead. And there were a lot of witnesses to this. So a lot of people were talking, and it was all a buzz. And as he is heading into Jerusalem, people are talking. So the story starts with Jesus telling his apostles, a couple of his apostles, to bring him a donkey. Bring him not just a donkey, but the colt of a donkey, a very young donkey, a very untrained donkey. And so they bring him this donkey and they put their blankets over it. And Jesus sits on it. And they begin the journey to Jerusalem. His apostles are walking alongside the journey, alongside the donkey and Jesus. And some Pharisees come out and they see, oh no, he's riding a donkey. Oh, we better get rid of him. He's riding a donkey. Because the scriptures and the Pharisees know this. The prophet Zechariah had said that the Messiah would come riding a donkey into Jerusalem. So the Pharisees know this, and they try to get rid of him, and Jesus is not having it. We're going. The people can already see him coming, and they're throwing down their cloaks, and they're throwing down their palms, their branches, their tree branches, so that he can go over them. Now, this story has a lot of metaphysical significance, a lot of symbolism, a lot of meaning if you choose to accept this interpretation of it. The donkey represents our egos. We don't want to get rid of our egos. We need our egos, but the ego is young. In fact, this is a colt, so it's a very young ego. It's untrained. You wouldn't give your young ego the car keys. You wouldn't let the young ego direct your path. So it's a young ego. And putting the blankets over its back is clothing it in truth. Clothing it and blanking it and protecting it and just saying to those young egoic thoughts, which egoic thoughts are often fearful, they're often feeling separate, feeling alone, got to protect myself, got to feel safe. We clothe them, we blanket them with truth. It's all is well. All is well. And so we can do this to our own egos, to our own egoic thoughts. Blanket them in truth. And then Jesus represents our own I am, our own Christ self. Our Christ, in unity we say Christ is the pattern for potential perfection. That we all are that, created in that pattern, that we have potential perfection within us. We're created by that pattern. And so Jesus represents that to us, our highest self, the highest version of ourselves that we can muster. And he sits on the donkey. Okay, he sits on the donkey, meaning he takes dominion of those egoic thoughts. He's in charge. He's driving the car. He's steering the donkey, and his path is straight. We can do this too. We can do this in our lives anytime we decide to take dominion of those egoic thoughts. Don't let fear get the better of us. And it can, right? I mean, it can. Fear and separation and what she said, what he said, what they did. Oh, we can so go there. It's the first picture. What's going on in the world and how is it affecting my life? But there's this quote that I want to share. When you let the world around you impact your emotional state and peace of mind, you become a prisoner to these external forces. And we can get so caught up in the overwhelm of the world, in what's going on. But we can be in charge. We don't have to let any of that affect us. And isn't that a much better way to be? So Jerusalem, he's heading to Jerusalem, and Jerusalem represents metaphysically a place of peace. A place of peace. When we follow our guidance, when we take dominion of those egoic thoughts, when we sit on our donkey, we get to peace. We get to a place of peace. And it doesn't matter what the Pharisees are saying. The Pharisees represent those parts of ourselves that are rigid, that it can only be done this way. We're kind of in a box. It can only be done this way. And Jesus is saying, no. I came so that you could have a new way of being, a new consciousness. And so then all the people throwing their palms and their cloaks, the people in the Bible represent thoughts. They're saying, Hosanna, Hosanna, save us now. They think Jesus is coming to claim a new kingdom, a new worldly kingdom, that he's going to save them from this Roman force. That wasn't Jesus' intention at all. In fact, it may have been presented presented to him in the beginning of his ministry. But he said no to that. What's interesting is Jesus is coming from the east, and he's riding a donkey, which is humbling, which is servient. Donkeys serve us. They were like, pack mules for us. That has been their role. And Pontius Pilate is coming from the west. Both coming to Jerusalem. Pontius Pilate's on a big war horse with a military parade, with intimidation as his goal. Let's show Jerusalem and these Jews our force of might. Two different directions, two different manners of coming into this place of peace. And we get to choose. Do we want to be in a war parade or a peace parade? It's our choice. There's another quote. Stop giving your power to other people and step into your potential. This flowed a lot better first service. I'm not quite sure where that quote was supposed to go. But really, stop giving your power to other people. Take dominion. Don't give your power to those Pharisees, that Pharisee part of you. See, all these characters are within us. We get to choose. We choose. It's important to remember that Jesus was Jewish. He didn't come to create a new religion. He didn't come to develop this worldly new kingdom. He came to give us a new level of consciousness, a new way of being, a new way of showing up in the world. And those Pharisees, he didn't pay them any mind whatsoever. He was just going to do what he was going to do. When we have our own guidance, when we set an intention and we put attention on our intention and are committed to it, we go straight. We go to that place of peace as Jesus did in his journey and triumphant, they always say, it's all in all four Gospels, his triumphant entry into Jerusalem. Triumphantly come to a place of peace. When we're following our guidance, when we're following our intentions, when we're taking the steps necessary to move forward in our lives. Doesn't mean we can't get there through the long way, like we could be circling the building, the temple for, long time and zig and zag and having a lot of twists and turns. But if we come from our Christ self, our center, it's a straight path to peace. It's a way to a new way of being. Not paying any mind to those things that want to stop us and pull us away and sway us in another direction. I'm reading this book about 2/3 of the way through it called The Let Them Theory. Anybody reading it? A couple people. It's by Mel Robbins, and she has a podcast, and I guess it's very popular right now. And in this book, she talks about how we all think we can control things. It's amazing how much we think we can control. We can control other people. We can control what they think. If we're just nice enough, they're never going to think a bad thought about us, right? Wrong. Even somebody who loves you to pieces is going to have a negative thought about you. Think about you. You've had a negative thought about somebody you love once or twice. It happens. We have no control over people's thoughts, behaviors, words, none. But we spend an enormous amount of time thinking that we do and trying to make conditions just so that everybody will think we're wonderful. We have no control over it. And so the let them theory is let them. Just surrender. Just stop working it so hard. Just let them. Let them have their thoughts. Let them have their actions. Let them have their behaviors. Let them. They're going to anyway. Stop putting all your energy there and let me. When you let them and just surrender to, it's going to be what it's going to be with other people. Jesus did that with they're going to think what they want to think. They're going to do what they're going to do. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, what I'm meant to do. And he showed us that. Going into the holy city, going into Jerusalem, knowing that there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of stuff going on, knowing it could have been his last week of life, he went anyway. He just let them so that he could let me be who I am meant to be. Let me be who I need to be to show up here. Let me take responsibility and take accountability for how I respond or react to everything. It's a really very freeing way to live if we can do that. If we can do that. And it's not easy. And you have to keep it in your mind, and you have to keep replaying it. Often when I'm in an airport, and I flew this week to Michigan, and sometimes you see the worst of people when they're traveling. And I just kept saying, let them, let them, let them. It's okay. They're going to do what they're going to do. Let me show up how I want to show up. And hopefully not with them saying about me, let her. You never know. But it's a really good book. I highly recommend it, the Let Them Theory. And she says this too, Mel. By learning to focus on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your energy, your healing, you unlock the power to change not only yourself, but the world around you. It all starts with you. That's how much power you have. That's how much power you have. And know that how you show up, if you start showing up differently, if you start showing up more loving, more kind, more compassionate, it's going to change your relationships. And it's going to change the people around you as they experience you in a different way. And it just ripples out from there. And then they show up differently. That's how much power we have. We don't remember that. We think that we're all victims of all this stuff going on in the world, and we're not. We have power, and it's all within us. I've gone to the theater the last couple weeks to see The Chosen. It's out in season 5. It's just out in theaters, 3 parts. So I've seen the first 2 parts. And this whole season goes back and forth between the Last Supper and then the other events of Holy Week. It's all about Holy Week. And it starts with they're sitting at a table at the Last Supper, and then it goes to Palm Sunday. And you see Jesus riding with his disciples all just, happy, walking alongside of him. And they represent our 12 powers, by the way. So when we are sitting on our donkey and taking dominion of those egoic thoughts, we bring with us all our 12 powers from the highest version of them. We bring faith, strength, we bring will, we bring understanding, we bring zeal, we bring life, we bring love, we bring all of them with us. And they're all, the apostles, they didn't get it. They're all thinking, here we are, we're going to start a new kingdom. And Jesus, that's not how I'm showing up. That's not what I'm doing. So The Chosen, so well done. But they keep going back to the Last Supper. In the Last Supper, in the upper room. And they keep going back to the love in that room. the love that Jesus felt for his disciples, the love that they felt for each other. And he gives them a new commandment to love each other. That way people will know that you belong to me. The love. It's so beautiful. We're going to have a Holy Thursday service here this week at 5:30 on Thursday. And we do this. We do communion. This year we're going to do it with matzah. We're going to do it actually with unleavened bread like the Jews do for Passover. Because remember, the Last Supper was the Passover supper that Jesus had with his apostles. And the love that's in the room. It's incredible. You can just feel it. It's just like oozes off the screen. It's just highly recommend if you haven't watched that series, or if you have, and season 5 is out in theaters. But this is our invitation. It's our invitation to set our intentions, to put attention on our intentions and be committed to them. And take dominion of those egoic thoughts that want to sway us out of it, that want to take us away from where we want to go, how we want to show up, who we want to be. Because it's important. Because how we show up affects everyone else. So this week, this Holy Week, remember the love. Remember the love. This week is a lot about love and surrendering and being who you came here to be. That's that song, Go the Distance. No matter what, be your own hero. You have all this power within you, all this potential, all this Christ in you to just make this world a better place. And it can be. It just takes a bunch of us to get this, to do this, to be this. So I invite you to have a great Holy Week. Join us on Thursday for the Holy Thursday service if you want. It's a contemplative service. Laura's going to be doing the music. And we'll have a hand washing. I'm taking away your announcement, Ann. But it's powerful. So I invite you for that. And then next Sunday, Easter. So enjoy your Holy Week.